Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and every nook and cranny receiving our signals every single weekday. Folks, first of all, as well, you know what we say. Welcome to the entire world. Why? Who receive our signals through the magic of the internet, also known as ARPANET, created by we the people, not that billionaire or that other billionaire or that other billionaire. Don't be fooled, folks. You know, in this next election, we have a fight. And let me, well, I tell you what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about this after we do the studio and the magic from the geniuses back there. So without further ado, let's go to our genius, the geniuses in the studio. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jacques. I like that. I like that. I, and to think that you are the guy who just likes the music side of the business. You know what I mean? And you're so good. You're so good at it, man. Well, hey, yes, yeah. Let me explain it. Yeah, let me explain that because this is important for people to understand, right? Price rises rarely go down. Let me give an example. Let's say inflation is to make it easy. I'm going to say a high number, 10% for a year. For year number one, inflation is 10%. Bacon used to cost, let's say, $1 a pound, right? In 2021, inflation was, let's say, 10%. That bacon is no longer a dollar 10. It is now no longer a dollar. It is now a dollar 10 because inflation was 10% in that year. Now, if inflation in 2022 then goes to is at, let's say, 5%, that new price of bacon will be 5% of 110 more. So it would now, let's call it about a dollar and 15 cents. So in those 2 years, the first year was 10% inflation, the second year was 5% inflation. Inflation fell between 2021 and 2022, but your prices haven't fallen. Inflation has stopped. The rise in prices has stopped. So therefore, that price of $1.15 for bacon that's at 200 that in 2012 remains at $1.15, but it's not going any higher. So at that point, inflation is zero. So even though the price remains at $1.15, it'll never ever, hardly, except if it's something like oil that trades on a commodity, etc., or there's a spot market drop in the bacon, etc., that'll change. So in the aggregate, what corporations always benefit from is inflation that even though the prices are going to stop rising, they stay where they are at. If they back up, let's say now, let's say in year 2024, bacon drops to $1.10. there's another thing called deflation, and that is what scares economists to kingdom come, because then deflation means prices are falling. And what normally happens in an economy is your wages, even though it hasn't happened, okay? I'm telling you how real capitalist economies should work. They never really work that way because it has always been a fraud. What happens then is if you go ahead now and drop the price of bacon from $1.15 back to a dollar, let's say back to a dollar in 2024, right? That is now called deflation. And it's the thing that economists and capitalists hate the most. Why? Because technically speaking, what happens is as inflation goes up, you notice they always talk about wages keeping up with inflation or wages growing faster than inflation. And what has happened over the last 2 years is wages have been growing at a faster clip than inflation. So as prices go up, your wages are supposed to come up and meet this increase in prices. It has not happened over the last 40 or 50 years in the aggregate. In select years, it has happened. But if you take a look at the curve that says how much earnings we have, what compared to what we make, it's a different story. What it is, brother Reynolds, is our economic system is a fraud for the billionaire. And we just keep hearing these magical things over and over again. The prices are not gonna on most things are not gonna fall. Inflation being zero just means they're gonna stop rising. That's all it means. When you get to inflation of zero, it means the prices will rise no more. Or when you get an inflation that is 2% as opposed to 10%, it simply means inflation is going up at a slower rate. So yeah, so I mean, it is not. I mean, technically speaking, it's not complicated. It's just not fair, and it is something that the corporate sector takes advantage of every single time because while inflation goes up, what you find in dividends and all of that goes up, but your wages don't necessarily go up. So a class of people do well, and a class doesn't do well. Anyway, that's the answer. It's yes, yes, yeah. You know, nobody ever said, remember when I talk about businessmen and the capitalist guys, these guys aren't, uh, these guys are not smarter than anybody else. They're just able to take your money, but they're smarter than, they're not smarter than anybody else. Good morning, Jack. How are you doing, my brother? Okay. I like that. I like that, Jack. Responsibility, personal responsibility, and all the good stuff. You're absolutely right, sir. You're absolutely right. You know, let me tell you, Jack, it's interesting because where I come from, we used to have phrases like it's the women who get pregnant and women this and women are, if they don't want to do this. I mean, and I came over, like I said, I came over here as sexist. A few years later, I was taught well by the right kind of folk to do things right. So there you go. Anyhow, thank you, my brother. Let me see. Who's here? Okay, Melissa, talk to me. How you doing? I am doing fine. Talk to me, my friend. The custom. Oh yeah. In other words, if a company sends me something, and it's an item that's fall under the tariff schedule, I have to pay the tariff to receive the product. Yes. Right. Yes. Oh, what kind of product are you talking about? Wait, let me back up a second. What kind of product is this that they're charging you 200 a day? Wh- hey, a drum. Oh, a drum, a drum. Was it sent through you? Was it? Got it. Was it? Okay. No, no, no. Let me just say I don't. I'll let's talk about that offline. That is crazy because what happens is if you ship through USPS, right? The United States Postal Service. The only thing that you're, huh? Okay, okay, great. Let me back up then. That we talk about this sort of stuff all of the times. You are dealing now with the private sector, okay? When you're dealing with the private sector, that's why they do as they please. There are two parts to it when you're dealing with the private sector. One is a tariff that you have to pay for whatever you bring in, and that is very generally speaking for most products, that's very inexpensive. You hear what I'm saying? It is inexpensive. Now for the private company that you ship through, right? Like if it's a FedEx or a UPS or a DHL, they can do whatever they want to do beyond the tariff because it's a private company. Now, if it is sent through US mail, the only thing that you're responsible for is the shipping charges and the tariff. Nothing more, nothing less. The private companies are the extorters because they can do as they please. And that is the law. Right. Uh, no, let me tell you, if the drums are not right, let me just tell you a suggestion, Melissa. Let me give you a suggestion, okay? If the drums aren't worth the 4K, what I would do if you have contacts where you are and you really wanted those drums, you buy new drums and you have it shipped. But anyway, thank you, my friend. Right. Have a great day now. Yeah. Oh, wait. One more thing. When things like this happen, the way you get back at companies is just tell your story and put it out there and share it to as many blogs as you can. And what happens is these companies usually see that their name is turned into dirt, and since you're telling the truth, you can't be sued. So you're telling the truth, but you're just making people aware. Thank you very much, Melissa. You have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to Jacob. Come on in, Jacob. Talk to me, my brother. Right. America, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, sir. Thank you. Absolutely. Let me just say this, Jacob, because I think this is important. I am not looking for as a black Panamanian. I'm not looking for reparations here in the United States or anywhere for that matter. I don't have to have reparations. Is reparations due me? I think reparations is due every single descendant of a slave that really busted their butt for the countries that they're in. What I'm saying is that the ADOS movement is divisive. When I did some interviews, right? And I interviewed several different sects of ADAS, both here in Houston, Baltimore, and other places. And the rhetoric was not a rhetoric of first of all, we haven't even gotten to the point where reparation is a thing. But one of the things that these folks that lead the reparations group were actively telling, Caribbean folks or Latin folks or whatever is, but this isn't for you. It was sort of a standoffish way of saying you're not included. All right. It was a divisive manner in the way it was done. I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of, no, 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 it's not. It is not that. Here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the following: there were a lot of people helping in that regards. There are a lot of if you follow Marcus Garvey or any of these other folks, there's a lot of folks that were involved in the liberation of slaves that they, as well. So what I'm saying is what I'm saying, my dear brother, it is you don't even need to go there. You shouldn't even be going there because slavery was an international thing. And if you really want to be technical about it, it is something that should be done, the reparations of the trade should be done on an international level. Because if you take a look at the interests that created it, they were international interests. The masters in America had international interests around the world. In other words, a sugar plantation. Let me no no let me finish. Jay, my brother, could you let? Can I finish? Can I finish, please? Come on. We talk. Um, uh, what happens here? If you take a look at the sugar plantations in Cuba, okay, the sugar plantations in Cuba had a beneficiary of the United States and elsewhere. You look at the banana plantations throughout Central America. You look at the sugar plantations and the cocoa plantations, etc., in Jamaica and all these other. It was all an international ring, okay, where the spoils, most of the spoils came directly to the United States as being the major power. So if some of the I am not asking for it personally, Jacob, but I'm saying is if you follow the money, if you follow the money, let's be technical here, and then I really want to get on the subject that we're supposed to talk about. But let me just bring no, but brother, no, I want you to see this. I want you to see the picture and for the audience to see it as well, because it also goes not only for Black Americans but for all Americans and all people. Here's what I'm talking about. Assuming that ADOS is really for reparations for just Black Americans, right? And not people from around, not blacks for around the world. Like I said, I go ahead. Okay, okay. Again, uh, now let me listen. Let me tell you, Jacob. Stop for a while and hear me. I didn't say just or listen to me, not just hear me, because you're given the talk of the American master, the capitalist. That's how a capitalist would think, and let me explain why. Because all you are seeing is what you think concerns you solely. But remember, the profit of the master that you are trying to get something from didn't only come from your labor. It came from the labor of slaves throughout the whole region. America has its footprints in Jamaica, through the bauxite and everything else. America had its footprints in the Dominican Republic. America had its footprints in Cuba. America had its footprints everywhere. So let's go under your assumption that, and again, I don't want it for me. I'm just saying, think about it. Under your assumption, you want the profits from the spoils of what was made from exact. I get it. I get it. I get it. But your country was not solely built by you, brother. Your country was built by the blood of all the people around these regions and that's what I'm saying. We have to stop thinking like the capitalists. Sir, sir, no, no, sir. My brother, my brother, I know American history very, very well. For sir, no, no, sir, brother, please. One of the things in becoming a U.S. citizen, okay? is we have to learn the American history. In fact, what you'll find, now, I'm not talking about you now, but what you'll find is that foreigners that come over here and get their citizenship know much more about American history than most Americans. I hate to say it, but that's really the truth. Now, here's the thing: we go. I mean, we know about what the Chinese did to build the country. We know about what the slaves did to build the country. We know about the entire. This country was built by a lot of the indentured servitude. I mean, we know about all this stuff, sir. And all I'm saying is, if you really want, the enemy is not the people. The enemy is that person on top. And when we start dividing up ourselves, right, right, sir, sir, s- uh, s- sir, sir. Okay, sir. Let me just say, we'll talk. And so, since so I can get on the subject, we'll talk about this. Continue. We'll continue talking about this. But I want to tell you, every black people in America paid the ultimate price. I'm not going to dispute that at all. But let's give due what's due as well. There are a lot of folks that actually made America what America is. Okay, and a lot of us's on the other side of the border as well did it. This country was built by a hell of. All right. Okay, I tell you what, Jacob, let's talk. Let's continue talking another time. But we I mean, because I think I don't want to talk past each other. Okay, I want because I think that's what we're doing to some extent. But let's keep talking. All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Harry real quickly, and then I'll get to the other one. Hey, Harry, talk to me. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, let me just say one thing. Voting is a personal choice. Now, when it comes to uh, being in Chicago, if I were in Chicago, I would be out there protesting as well with the my Palestinian brothers and my Jewish brothers, and I mean my and Jewish brothers and sisters. Remember, people get the wrong idea. This protest is not a Arab protest against Jews or something like that. This is a protest against war. This is a protest against genocide. This is a protest about the mass murder of human beings. That's what this protest is about, and it's around every ethnicity, every religion. If you went out there to Chicago, as I got streams from, that's what you would see. And Omar visited, AOC visited virtually. I mean, a lot of folks visited for that. And here's the thing: why, again, I can't hold Kamala or Democrats in general on it until we win, until progressives wean themselves off of the apex of the world, because APAC I call APAC a clear and present danger to democracy, just as bad as I do Donald Trump. And the reason why, the reason why is they are causing politicians. I mean, it's an unpatriotic being that has the hold on politicians, and when they cross them, I can talk to you about Bauman and Cory Bush, two people that should have won their elections that were derailed by APAC. And that's because, again, and it could happen to any Democrat, not any Democrat, to any politician. But anyway, anything else, Harry, real quick, so I can get to Greg? Yeah. Thank you, brother. Oops. Come on in, Greg. Sorry about that. We went a little figure. Go ahead, Greg. Good morning, sir. Hmm. Okay, no, no. Let me just say, you're a social studies teacher, and you know a lot about history, and not only that, your students as well. You're probably a darn good studies student. But let me just say this: I went out several times, and how should I say it? Oh, it seems like they can't hear the callers. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Uh, let me let me go ahead and oh, I see what they're saying. The speakers. Okay, I think they will be able to hear them now. All right, I think you can hear the callers now. That was my fault. Anyway, here is the here's what I found. and maybe different or whatever. There are certain basics that we learn that we had to learn as immigrants coming in: federalism, state rights, the separation of the states, and again, my stuff was 30 years ago or more. So we had to learn all those things. And what I find in talking to a lot of people is a lot of folks don't understand things like the separation in the governments, what states can do, what others can do, etc. Something as simple as why it is that let's look at when somebody says, why is it that President Bush or President Biden can't do X, Y, and Z? Not understanding how the system works. Things like that is what I'm talking about. And I will gather that you ask just about, well, most of the immigrants that I'm around at least, and they'll be able to tell you all these things that many people here won't be able to tell you. So that's where I'm coming from. As far as deep, go ahead, sure.
Scientist, right? You're a scientist, right?
Yes. No,
Those,
I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. Scientist, I think I call scientists a higher level, man. I'm an engineer.
yeah, because that's true. Scientists, you use the knowledge that scientists
Right.
create. Okay, but you know science, and
Hmm.
with science, there's social science too, and we have to be careful about anecdotal data, personal data and stuff. It's good to use it as examples and stuff like that, but you can't use
I
it as data
stand
because
corrected. I stand corrected. You're absolutely right.
there are millions of people in America.
You know,
So
hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me give you your kudos. Let me give you your kudos. That was the best slap back I've gotten in a that that's I don't know, that's profound. The way that is profound. Remember science and remember what's the difference between empirical data. Remember what's the difference between. I love that, folks. That is absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
I love your show. Keep going on and keep getting even more progressive because hey, progressives love people, life, equality, opportunity. They don't love hate. That's kind of
And
an
you know what
oxymoron.
else? You know what else? I'm gonna take one exception. There's no way you could be more progressive than I am. We're gonna fight. I don't think you can be more progressive than I am, brother. All right, but anyway.
Oh, enjoy that. Enjoy that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for the commentary. All right,
All right.
take care. All right, folks. I am lost now. You guys call in and change the complete show. We went from tariffs and storage to Americans, descendants of slavery, to history. Man, you guys just took over my darn show. Anyway, the show title today was supposed to be Kroger Merger is the instantiation of corporate greed. I also interviewed the woman who created the Daily Show. With her name is Lizz Winstead. I interviewed her in Baltimore at our Netroots convention, as well as the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. The guy who ran the case against George Floyd. I have an interview with him, and I have an interview with Keith Winstead, but the interview with Keith is too long. I see that I'm getting another call. So what I'm going to tell you guys is both of these interviews, solid interviews that you're going to want to listen to. One on a woman's rights and all that kind of stuff, and the other one on where our democracy goes with Keith Ellison. You can always find that at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Since there is another call coming in, I will go ahead and wait for that. And for those of you who are listening online, I hope that you can actually hear the callers now. So let's go ahead and go to Brother Donald. Brother Donald, come on in.
Good morning, Alberto. How are you today?
I am doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
You always miss the forest for the trees.
Okay.
Melissa bought some drums. She's a percussionist. You like music, so you should ask, are they ornamental or are they actually used, and then start a rapport with them. A nice talk. Who controls the orb? It says the money is the money, and that's the value. Because if you get 3% for the cost of living, and it goes 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
we have had is because we gave out all this free money, right? People got supplemented because they were down and out for COVID, so they're taking 800, a grand, or whatever, getting supplemented on their food, and they're buying all this food. So therefore, there were shortages because people had more money to spend. Now all that's done, and guess what? They still want to keep making the same profits they was making off the free money that people got. It's just like when we have a drought, the cattleman has to slaughter his herds because he can't feed them because the cost of hay and the water and everything else. Have you ever seen the price of beef go down? No.
No.
99-cent briskets at $3.49 a pound right now. You might get a little discount. It doesn't matter if there's a push on the market or a pull. There's a shortage or a gain. It's always going to be the same. So you got to find out who controls that orb that sets the value of the dollar. And then if you devalue a dollar by paying for like student loans or bailouts and all this other stuff, okay, if we bail the bank out and in a few years we bail the automotive out and now the bank's setting the price on what the automotive is going to sell for and we still need cars. Ford Motor Company to create assembly line to make the car affordable to the working person, to the individual. We have gotten so far off track, I don't know how we're ever going to get back. But that's
All
all
right.
I got to say.
No, 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 no. You gotta wait now. You gotta wait now because you fell. Now you said I missed the forest for the trees. I don't know if you meant for the drums or for the economy. So I'm gonna assume for both. Let's go with the economy though, which is the one that interests me the most. You have fallen for the fraud that is our economic system. Let's talk about that. Um, I believe in supply and demand because supply and demand is real. If I have a shortage of something, right? If I have a shortage of something, then I can to kind of be able to I can sell it at a higher price because if people have money, they'll buy it at that higher price, which sort of happened, but it wasn't because people say, oh, you give people money. Here's the thing about it: you fall for the capitalist trap that says the following: I will take whatever money the people without pricing power has in their pocket and charge them the commensurate price I can get for them. There's this theory in economics called the not theory, a concept, an economic concept that says whatever the market will bear. If you know, there's a drug called well, I'm not going to use Ozempic because people are flocking to Ozempic like crazy, creating a real shortage. But let's look at what happened in reality. In reality, people got monies in their pockets. A lot of people would have otherwise saved that money. But when the corporate structure realized that that money was there, they brought the prices up commensurate with the amount of money they knew people have, even though, remember what I said, even though there were no shortages. And here are my proofs. A lot of the pricing that grocers are seeing came through the energy supply chain. We never had a energy shortage. We never had a oil shortage. In fact, smack in the middle of the pandemic, we had the oil companies raising prices of gasoline as they were taking barrels of oil off the market. That's a statement of fact. That amount of monies charged for gasoline and diesel, etc., went straight up the chain to the farmer who was farming his land, to the fertilizer people who depend on oil for fertilizer. All of these things from this mere fact that the oil company decided that they were going to rig the market. All those other prices went up, not because of shortages, but because the pricing power of a necessary resource and they cornered the market. Statement of fact. Secondly, again, no shortages. You could not go to the store and not find things that you wanted. Maybe spot shortages of paper towel here and there because people crazily went and got paper towels and toilet paper. I don't know why, but anyway, that's what they did. But you could always find products, but everything was inflated. Brother, it's a fraud. It's not because Biden gave them money. It's because they knew Biden gave them money so they could, the people with price and power, listen to that video that I did on price and power. They are the ones who raise the prices. And you know how we know that's a fact? Because when you take a look at the profits of all these corporations, the profits were relative in concert with the price rises, which means their initial cost wasn't all that much higher, Donald. We have to stop falling for the crap that capitalists tell us. It's a system designed to enrich a few. And I can prove it mathematically. And the problem that we have is we have been inculcated, infiltrated, indoctrinated into a system where the evidence of its failure is out there for all to see. You are there to see your money go straight up to the top. The billionaire never has a problem under no economy. Whether the economy is bad or good, they do well. And until we learn that we are constantly being ripped off and we take it out of our minds, what's been indoctrinated into our minds, we're screwed. Go ahead, my brother, before I go to Paul.
Oh, I'm just waiting for you to come up for the solution. I know you got it because you're smart, because you know how to use an abacus and a slide rule. So
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. And yeah, I wrote a book with the solution. It's called How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Yep, I did write a book about that. But thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. All right, let's go to Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Economics 101, artificial scarcity. There's no
Oh, I love you. If I saw you now, I'd come and give you a big, big, big hug. Thank you for saying that.
Well, in the late 70s, early 80s, Nixon to Reagan, they went away from the Adam Smith model of economics to the Keynesian model, the free market, laissez-faire. There's raw capitalism, laissez-faire. Free market, if you bag up doggy dung and people are willing to buy it, fine, sell all that you can, versus regulated capitalism, which was torn down beginning with Reagan. John Gorsuch, or the guy on the Supreme Court named
Gorsuch.
His mom was Reagan's hatchet woman, and she got involved in scandal, had to step down. But they took all the guardrails off of our regulatory agencies and imposed, indoctrinated, as you said, inculcated, and basically imposed a Keynesian economic model, free market, and thus went away unions. Reagan first ordered business to act the unions. The unions went away. Profits went up 300%. Wages stagnant. They took away the right to deduct credit card interest off of your taxes. You cannot put a student loan in a bankruptcy filing. They took away your ability to, they taxed Social Security payments because Republicans hated it from its very inception. And so here we are. And so, we're like frogs in the boiling pot. By the time we realize it's too hot, it's too late to get out. And people need to get out of Facebook and get their face in a book and understand, how we got here. But people, other than folks like you and some others, don't want to talk about causes and conditions. They don't want to connect the dots. Twisted theology has led us into, a church state. The church becomes the state. For example, the King of England right now is also the head of the
Anglican Church.
Is also head of the Anglican Church. And the framers of the Constitution made it crystal clear that church and state shall be perfectly separate, because democracy is actually a secular political tool for equality. It didn't come from Judeo-Christian values. It came from the Sioux and the Iroquois, which they discovered when the Europeans landed here, that the Sioux and the Iroquois had a democratic form of societies, and so they refined it. They refined it and tweaked it, and so here we have, the greatest experiment of all humanity, democracy, which
Paul,
over the past 40 years has
thank you,
been
Paul. I'm
destroyed.
running out of time, and I have two more calls that I have to get. But look, you're absolutely right, and it always warms my soul when I hear somebody that doesn't buy into this crap here. I like neither Adam Smith or, well, Keynesian at least. The one thing with Keynesian is that it says government should spend to take us out of to make sure we don't go into recessions when they're the last resort. But I want a true free enterprise system. I don't even regulated capitalism is still a mover of money, but we can talk about that another time. But thank you so kindly, Paul, for your commentary. All right, let's go to Tag. Come on in, Tag. Tag, I only got
Morning.
about a minute.
Yep. A quick word for Howard this morning, which I think he needs to hear. Inflation is based on the consumer price index. Okay, consumer price index is based on what you pay for something. So if the cost of something goes up at the store, just don't buy it. And if you continue to not buy it, the price will come back down, and then you're not adding to inflation. Inflation is based on what we buy.
Thank you, Tag. Appreciate you, my brother.
Word of the day. Have a good day.
Thank you. Let's go to Ray, real quick, Ray. My brother Ray.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Brother Clinton at the convention. In history, all of history shows, if you look at a graph, that he had the greatest economy according to history, because he had a surplus, and he was the only president to do that. And while Trump, talks all that, lambastic BS, it's basically Clinton who has the bragging rights, but he never uses them. And I just want to give him a shout out for his humility and just giving shout outs to all the Democrats throughout history.
That is so smart of you, Ray. Thank you very much. Actually, he had the highest word. 23 million jobs is what he created. The next person to him was Carter with 10 million jobs in 1 year. In one term. A lot of people don't know this stuff. They just take the propaganda that the Republicans put out there, but it's generally lies. I got to go to Brian Ray because, but let's talk at 3:00 if you're on the show at 3, brother.
All right, cool.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, Brian, come on in, my brother.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm totally documented because you rambled on for like 2 minutes and you've never answered Donald's question.
What was that?
What I got to say is how our economic system is brainwashed everybody.
I already told you how. I told you already why.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Let me tell you specifically in one sentence. If your economic system over time has transferred all the wealth to the top 10 and 1%, then it's a failure. That's the answer. Continue.
Okay, now Clinton did not have a surplus. Somebody needs to check their history. And who was
there's a difference between debt and actually the amount of debt we have and the budget. He was the only president in the last 50 years that had a surplus when it comes to the budget. That's a statement of fact. Continue, sir.
He did not. Somebody needs to check their history. Clinton did not have a surplus. Somebody going to check that for me?
Look, I've already checked it at all. You guys like to change definitions depending on who's president. But go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's the statement of the day. Clinton did not have a surplus. It was a proposed surplus. Who worked with him to get this supposed surplus? The Republicans.
No, wrong. The Republicans, all 100% of the Republicans voted against the Clinton tax increase, and they stated that tax increase would blow the economy up. It turns out that after they passed this tax increase and losing Congress, that the fiscal responsibility that he brought took the economy through the roof. I don't want to hear anything about, oh, it was done under Republicans. No, every single Republican voted against the tax increase that brought fiscal sanity. Then Bush came into office and tanked the economy like Republicans always do, which is why 50 million of the 51 million jobs created over the last, since 1989 was by Democrats. And also, if you take a look even further over the last 80 something years, there's been 30 million jobs created under the Republican presidents, 80 million jobs under Democratic presidents. So, I mean, this is not something that's just happening now. Republicans simply are terrible for the economy. When we talk about GDP, the same thing applies. The GDP under Democratic presidents is much, much better than the GDP under Republicans. These are statements of fact that that we can talk about, but I got to go to the studio now with Howard Reynolds. Brian, I'm not asking these questions. You can look it up. It's out there for all to see. Come on in, Howard.
Okay, well, I wanted to talk about Brian here for a second. It was a projected surplus. It wasn't an actual real surplus under Clinton. If you would have stayed on Clinton's taxes and Clinton's economic plan, you would have had a projected surplus, not a real one.
But what happened then? Who came into power then again? There you go.
Oh, Bush W.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, folks, Jack, real quick.
He says nothing.
Okay. Anyway, folks, love you all. All the entire show that we were supposed to be is at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. In a 5-4 vote August 22nd, the